Good morning, Abundant Life Church. This is Pastor Chris. Today we're going to continue our study of John chapter 12, verses 20 down through 36. Jesus has entered into Jerusalem in triumph, coming in on the donkey, and some Greeks, Gentiles, come and ask his disciples, "Hey, can we see Jesus? Can we talk to him?" And the disciples are thinking, well, they want to follow him. Can a Gentile follow Jesus? So they go to Jesus. Hey, can these guys come see you? And Jesus gives this long poetic answer about seeds and death and what it means to lay your life down and how his death is going to open up the way to heaven, how his death is going to bring real glory to God. It's going to be something even better. But what has that got to do with whether or not Greeks can meet with Jesus? Jesus didn't answer the question he was asked, why not? Well, there's a couple possible answers. Number one is we have to remember that when they put together the New Testament, these books like John's Gospel, had been around for a few hundred years. But by this time, the original the original writings of that book, which are called autographs, by the way, were lost. There were none. They had all been lost to time, but people had made copies. Those were called manuscripts, and they made copies of the copies of the copies of the copies. And really, those have been around a long time too, and a lot of those were just falling apart. They were in decay. And so when they put together the New Testament centuries later, they didn't have like the complete book of First Corinthians. They didn't have the complete version of John's Gospel. What they had were fragments. And it was almost putting together the book from the fragments was like putting together a jigsaw puzzle. And in some cases, if you've been putting together a jigsaw puzzle, you think, oh, this piece will fit here. And when a piece doesn't fit there, what do? Yeah, you get a hammer, you make it fit. Well, that's not the right piece. And some scholars wonder, well, are there some parts, some fragments that are not in the right place? Maybe Jesus was answering a completely different question. Is that the case? No, no, because believe it or not, it does fit here. Jesus is answering the question. We just need to see how it fits. And by the way, in case you're wondering, there are no other parts in the New Testament where there's any serious debate of does this fragment belong here or not. So Jesus did answer the question. Or did he? You ever see a politician when they're asked a question that they really don't want to answer? What do? They just start talking. They just go on and on and on and on, and they change a subject 8 or 9 times. And by the time they're done talking, no one is quite sure what the original question was. That's an old trick. And maybe Jesus was doing that now. He doesn't really want to deal with whether or not Gentiles can come, so he just starts talking. And hoping people will forget what the original question was. Is that what Jesus was doing here? If that was the case, why on earth did John, who was an apostle, who was with Jesus all the time, who was probably standing right there when this conversation was going on, why did John include it in his gospel? John knew Jesus isn't avoiding the question, he's answering it. Okay, so now our real question is this. How, when the Greeks come to him and ask, essentially, can we be one of your followers? What does that have to do with seeds and death and resurrection and all that? Well, again, remember what these Greeks are actually asking him. They're not asking just to visit with him. They're wondering, can we become your followers? Even though we're Gentiles, can we become your followers? And again, this took place right after Jesus rode into town as a king. So people are excited. The people are thinking Jesus is about to take over. He's going to drive out the Romans. He's going to establish his kingdom. He's going to be the greatest power you've ever seen. Wouldn't it be nice if we were in on that? It sounds like these Gentiles, these Greeks, are wanting to jump on the bandwagon. But the real question is, did they have any idea what they would be getting themselves into? They thought it would all be victory. I used to, when I was in youth ministry and we were at summer camp, we loved to play volleyball. And I love to do this little trick. If my team was losing and the other team was at like game point, they're about to win, I'd sneak over to their side and start going, "Come on, guys, we can do it." And everybody knew exactly what I was doing. They would laugh. I was jumping on at the last second. It almost sounds like what these Greeks are doing. They think, hey, this is going to be nothing but victory. Is that a realistic picture of what was going to happen? Is that a realistic picture of what it means to follow Jesus? Of course not. What Jesus needed were people who were willing to stay with him, even if it meant the cross, even if it meant their cross, their death. You think it's all going to be victory? You have no idea. It's going to be hard. It's going to be painful. It'll be victory in the end. Up until then, it'll take commitment. It'll take putting up with a lot. But it's always going to be about being a part of something bigger than yourself. Are you ready for that? Look at verse 32 now. Verse 32 says, "And I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself." I'm going to be lifted up. I think, oh, that's victory. Oh, that's actually death. He was talking about what discipleship was really about, and he was answering their question. Can Gentiles follow you? I don't know. Are you ready to go through what I'm going to need you to go through? He says, eventually I'm going to be lifted up. He means on the cross. He says, I'll draw all people. Note that. I will draw all people. There's your answer as to whether Gentiles can follow him. Yeah, you can. But do you understand what you're getting yourself into? It's not just victories. Sometimes it's losses, and sometimes it's staying with Jesus through those tough times, through the fear and through the discouragement. That's real discipleship. Anytime I've ever counseled, done premarital counseling before a wedding, I love it when I get two really young people, early 20s, never been married. They have no idea. None. They think they do. Why? Because they're in love. You know what? Being in love is one of the easiest things to do in the world. Oh, it's wonderful. Your heart. Oh, that's great. That's dating. That ain't marriage. You know what marriage is? Marriage is we have $14 in the checking account until next payday. Don't buy anything. That's marriage. Marriage is sitting in an emergency room at 2 in the morning because your child won't stop throwing up. That's marriage. Marriage is hard. It's worth it. It's a great thing. Being a part of a family is amazing. But it also comes with cost. You have to stay through the tough times. You have to stay through the times that you're driving each other crazy. You have to stay through the times that I blew it. I'm going to have to go say I'm sorry. Marriage is hard, but it's wonderful. Following Jesus is hard. If you think it's all great times, great. Congratulations. You want to date Jesus. That's not following. Following Jesus, really loving Jesus, is being with him no matter what, no matter how hard life gets. That's what Jesus is talking about here. We'll talk more about this next time. Till then, have a great day.